Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Rams taking down the Niners with a bunch of backups. Now they advance to the playoffs to face the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff and the Lions, along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are the Rams ready to take down the Lions in Matthew Stafford's return to the Motor City? And the Chargers disappointed as they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, who were playing their backups. It's going to be a long offseason for those Bulls. Also, the Lakers finally won a game, and they didn't disappoint as they beat the Clippers, but they kind of came crashing down. Can they be fixed? Also, the Clippers are still staying relevant, as they, other than the Lakers loss, they've still been winning games left and right. Can they really prove themselves? And also, what is going on with UCLA men's basketball as well as USC men's basketball? Can they be fixed, or is it too little too late? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 163 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and formerly known as Twitter, X. We also have Facebook, as all you have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar, like us, and then that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, which is updated daily for all your latest sports news, blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.plantjerky.net and place your order. In addition, prices are slashed for the time being, so get them at a discounted price while you can. And if you buy an order's worth of $50 or more, you get the order for free! Once again, a huge shout to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, mainly on X, at Teran Rodriguez 1. And without any further delay, let us begin. So we have to start off with NFL just because NFL is king. Let's start off with the unimportant game, the Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Alright, this game didn't really have too much meaning for the Chargers. This was basically for draft capital. And if you all remember last week's show and my prediction, I predicted the Chargers losing this game 13-12. And, well, I hate how I'm right, but at the same time, this was kind of to be expected. Chiefs are playing their backups. Chargers are playing some of their backups. They didn't have Keenan Allen, no Joey Bosa, obviously no Justin Herbert. The list goes on and on. And for the Chargers, this was just such an uninteresting game as they wound up losing to the Chiefs 13-12. And the only thing that really was on display is the fact that Cameron Dicker can make field goals. By the way, he was snubbed on being a Pro Bowl, being a part of the Pro Bowl. Well, he's a Pro Bowl alternate, but he did not make the All-Pro first or second team, which is extremely disappointing, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But for the Chargers, they wound up basically losing this game. And the only touchdown that was scored in this game was a fumble courtesy of Easton Stick, which was scooped up by Mike Edwards for a 97-yard fumble return touchdown. It seems like the Chargers seem to have bad luck when it comes to defensive touchdowns from the Chiefs. It happened last year when they played Kansas City in Kansas City, and this year it happened when Easton Stick decided it was a good idea to hold on to the ball for way too long, and then he got stripped, and eventually it was returned for a touchdown. That was basically all the scoring, and unfortunately he just could not lead the game-winning drive. But the good news is for the Chargers is that they secure the number 5 draft pick, as they could have gotten the number 4 pick had the Cardinals beaten the Seahawks, but unfortunately the Cardinals missed I think it was like a 50-some-yard field goal at the end of the game. But it's all good. So, number 5 pick for the Chargers, as I imagine they're going to be taking either Brock Bowers or Gabe Neighbors. Bowers is the tight end for the Georgia Bulldogs, who was a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal tight end for Georgia, especially in their championship runs last year and the previous year. And then Gabe Neighbors was an amazing wide receiver for LSU. And honestly, I don't think the Chargers can go wrong, but they have so many wide receivers as it is, but they don't know what they're going to do with Keenan Allen. They don't know what they're going to do with Mike Williams, even though they just signed him to an extension. So time will tell. I mean, I'd really like to see Keenan Allen retire as a Charger, and he even said that he doesn't want to go anywhere else, but if it had to come down to it or being traded, he'd narrow his options down to a T. And then, again, if we're talking about departures from the Chargers, I'd have to go and say that the biggest player that is probably gone is Austin Eckler. I mean, the dude disappointed this season, and I really hate that it has to come down to this, but Austin Eckler, I just don't see coming back. The fact that the Chargers gave him a 1-year deal or I'm blanking on the terminology for the NFL, but they exercised his deal and gave him a light extension, or they basically delayed the inevitable. So for Austin Eckler, I just don't see the Chargers bringing him back, especially since they are in salary cap hell, and I don't even know what they're going to do with Joey Bosa. But again, time is going to tell whether the Chargers have to make big cuts or not, and who's going to be getting the hook. And that's not the gist of the offseason. The Chargers still have to hire their GM, and they also have to hire their head coach, which they have conducted GM and head coaching candidates such as Kellen Moore and Giff Smith. And then there's some other candidates that are involved, such as Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel's a possibility, Pete Carroll, the former USC football coach who was just let go as the Seahawks head coach, and then also Bill Belichick is a possibility, though I don't know if I really don't know if Bill Belichick would be the answer. If it comes down to Bill Belichick, he's obviously going to want his coaching staff, such as Josh McDaniels, which obviously Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator, but he's a poo-poo head coach, as the Raiders know. But for the Chargers, it's a long offseason, and I'm going to definitely keep my eyes on the Chargers in terms of who they're going to get in terms of free agency, who they're going to let go, who they're going to trade, and who they're going to draft, and who they're going to hire as GM or head coach. But this game against the Chiefs was just totally irrelevant, and honestly, there was no consequence. The only good thing that came out of it is that the Chargers have the number 5 pick of the draft, and they're probably going to select Brock Bowers or Gabe Neighbors. Maybe they'll get the tackle from Penn State, because if they get they'd have a left tackle in Rashawn Slater, but they need a right tackle. Obviously, Zion Johnson, I don't think has worked out for them, and the guard from Georgia, or the offensive lineman from Georgia, I mean, he's good. Jamari Salyer, that's his name. He's good, and maybe he could be getting some playing time next year, but honestly, the Chargers could definitely need to upgrade, especially since Corey Linsley has retired. Yeah, it was announced on Monday that Corey Linsley announced his retirement, and it obviously culminates with him having health issues, because he did have I don't know if it was a heart transplant, but he had a heart condition which kept him off the field, which really sucks. And as much as I hate to see him go, he made a tremendous impact for the Chargers, and his health is way more important. So I wish Corey Linsley the best, and I thank him for his time with the Chargers, and hopefully, he doesn't have any more health conditions going forward. But as for the Chargers, they finished the season 5-12, which is a disappointment just because, well, for starters, I'm just going to say this. There were some expectations. There were some good expectations. Obviously, bringing back Brandon Staley was a gigantic mistake. Obviously, with Kellen Moore, everyone thought the Chargers were going to be much better. But with Brandon Staley still calling the defense, it just was not going to cut it. It's like putting a stick of duct tape over cracked glass at the aquarium. It's not going to work. Just one little stick of duct tape is not going to conceal the crack. So for the Chargers, they have a lot of modifications they have to do, because if they don't make any modifications, they're never going to get better. And it definitely requires Dean Spanos going out there and spending money on a quality head coach. And if they hire Ben Johnson, that's fine. I also think that they might be going after the one of the coordinators from like the Washington Commanders or the Chicago Bears. But honestly, they need to go for a head coach hire and not a coordinator hire, because you want experience on your team. They made the mistake of hiring Brandon Staley, and honestly, I think it's a definite mistake. I think they definitely should have hired, if they were going to hire a coordinator, they had to hire the current head coach for the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. And that was what really killed Tom Telesco. No offense to him. I love the guy. I know him, and his kids are awesome, and I've met his wife. They're all awesome. However, I just think Tom Telesco making the mistake of not hiring his high school childhood friend in Brian Daboll was a mistake. And now, look, even though Brian Daboll is in a world full of muck, it would have been so much better than hiring Brandon Staley. Because eventually, during the collapse in the Jacksonville game, I saw that Brandon Staley had an argument with the linebackers coach for the Chargers, which I don't think he's on the Chargers anymore, or he's with the Chargers anymore. So all in all, the Chargers have a lot of questions to go over, and hopefully for their sake, they can answer the questions and make the correct hires, because if not, they're doomed. That's all that really needs to be said. And that's pretty much that for the Chargers, as, again, I will be keeping an eye on their moves and their news and whatnot. So hopefully they make the correct decisions, because if not, then they're going to be doomed for next year, because the entire AFC is getting better. I mean, you look at teams like the Houston Texans, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, won the division and made the playoffs. You also look at the entire AFC North. Every team finished above 500. Even the Bengals, which finished last. The Bengals without Joe Burrow, mind you. Imagine what could have been had Joe Burrow not gotten hurt. And the Steelers rose from the ashes of being dead. And look at the Ravens and the Browns. And then you look at the Chiefs, which obviously are still here. And then the Broncos, they improved. All they just need to do is get a quarterback. And then maybe, hence the word maybe, they can possibly contend. And then the Raiders, if they don't botch their coaching position, they could definitely be a contender. And then Jacksonville, even though they missed the playoffs, there's still a possibility they can be good still. And then the Colts, they narrowly missed out on the playoffs, even though considering they lost a win in game. They're definitely on the up and up, especially with Anthony Richardson being healthy. So the Chargers are definitely going to have their work cut out for them if they don't make the correct decisions in terms of the offseason. Because if they do, then there's a possibility that the Chargers could have dubious immortality. And hiring Pete Carroll would bring, from what I saw, more seats to SoFi Stadium. Because Pete Carroll is a SoCal guy. He has a winning culture. He managed to win a national championship and a Super Bowl with USC, the national championship, and the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He could have won back-to-back had he chosen to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, but unfortunately, he was quite dumb. But that was just one instance. It does not take away from Pete Carroll just being a fantastic head coach, and he is definitely a good candidate. Yes, he's up there in age, but so is Bill Belichick, so you got to understand. It's all about getting the perfect head coach and the one who's qualified for the position, not youth and whatnot. The only coordinator I think the Chargers should go after is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I think the Chargers also have requested an interview with the Lions defensive coordinator, but honestly, the Chargers need to go either Ben Johnson or experienced head coach. They cannot afford to have a coordinator as a head coach. Yes, people are going to say, oh, you don't want to recycle head coaches. Well, yes and no. They could have hired Doug Peterson when he got let go of the Eagles, but he unfortunately made his way to the Jaguars, and eventually we all know what happened. All right, but that's enough for the Chargers right there, here and there. Let's jump to the Rams, just because, well, for starters, the Rams had an important game, even though it was in Sean McVay's best interest to rest every starter except for Puka Nacua. So the Rams, obviously they had tough times against the Niners, considering the Niners have owned them in the regular season. I think it was nine straight times the Rams have lost to the Niners in the regular season, but not overall. But the Rams were able to finally break that streak, albeit it has a little asterisk because the Niners were resting their starters, but they started Sam Darnold, former USC quarterback and San Clemente High School alum, go Tritons. But for the Rams, they were able to pick up the win despite starting Carson Wentz. Oh my goodness, Carson Wentz. The fact that he was able to get the start is beyond me. I don't know what's more shocking, the fact that he was given the start or the fact that he was able to guide the Rams to the win. And believe it or not, the Rams were actually down 20-7 at halftime, and I'm thinking, oh boy, this is bad. And what was worse is that even though the Rams had a new kicker in Brett Maher, the former Cowboys kicker, he missed a PAT. So, yeah. The Rams have had such rotten luck with kickers. It's like they're the Chargers in terms of that category. Except the Chargers have a decent kicker, or a really good kicker for that matter. So eventually the Rams were able to win the game as Carson Wentz ran in for a 12-yard rushing touchdown. It was 20-13 going into the fourth quarter, and eventually the Rams were able to get the stops, and even though the Rams left a lot of time left for the Niners, the defense was able to come up big, even though the Rams were resting their starters. And eventually, the Rams were able to get the stop on the Niners' final drive, and thank goodness that they weren't able to, because it looked really close. There was one play where the Niners had a great catch, but he unfortunately didn't have firm control of the ball, and it was ruled incomplete. So if the Niners completed that pass, or if that was ruled incomplete, they could have been one Jake Moody kick away from possibly knocking the Rams to the 7 seed. But thankfully for the Rams, they were able to get the job done. Puka Nacua did surpass the rookie receiving yards record, as in this game, Puka Nacua had 41 receiving yards. He only needed 29. He actually had 28 at halftime, and I was like, please don't take him out, Sean McVay. If you take him out, then you're getting dumb of the week. Fortunately, Puka Nacua was able to break that receiving yards record, and now he is the all-time leading rookie receiving yards leader in terms of the regular season. And thank goodness. And he also broke the rookie receptions record as well, so good for Puka Nacua, and thank goodness. But the most important thing is, I'm so glad the Rams won, first of all, without their starters. Second of all, I'm glad the Rams won in general against the Niners. They went 5-1 against their division. Half of the Rams' wins were in their division. Yes, you're probably all going to say, well, what about the Cardinals? They suck. Well, yes, they do, but the Seahawks finished 500, and they were a few competent plays away from actually beating the Rams in SoFi. But to that matter, the Seahawks unfortunately missed a late kick in that second game against the Rams, and eventually it cost them. And now Seahawks fans are probably looking at what could have been a possible playoff spot, but now it's the Rams that are in the 6th seed, while the Seahawks are still staying at home. And it's really good that the Rams won, because as I've been saying in the past episodes, the Rams do not match up well with the Cowboys, especially on the road. If it were at SoFi, maybe I'd give the Rams a little bit more of a chance, but that Cowboys defense is pretty darn good, especially with Micah Parsons leading the way, and the Rams just don't have the best O-line. So thankfully, the Rams don't have to face a stout Cowboys team. They're going to be facing the Detroit Lions in the playoffs, and oh man, that's going to be such a great game. Matthew Stafford is making his return to Detroit, while Jared Goff gets to face his former team, the Rams, which he took to the Super Bowl back in the 2018-19 season. But to wrap up this game, I kind of liked how the Rams were able to get the job done without their starters. And I get it. The Niners didn't have their starters, but if it came down to it, they basically should have just sat everybody. And if it were up to me, I would have maybe played the starters for like a little bit, just to lock up the 6th seed, just because, yes, you're in the playoffs, but no, you want to get the matchup that you truly desire. And for me, I definitely think the Rams would never have matched up well against the Cowboys. Whereas if they face the Lions, well, they don't know what to expect with the Lions. But at the same time, the Lions' defense has not been great as of late. And also they lost Sam Laporta to injury. I get the whole, you don't want to risk your starters getting hurt in Week 18, Brandon Staley. But you have to get the matchup that you truly desire. And Sean McVay should have just looked at that film and said, we don't want to face the Cowboys on the road. Especially since they led 30-3 at one point when the Rams played at Dallas. So it's all about matchups, and it's all about who you want to play as opposed to what's the best case scenario. So this Sunday, the Rams are heading down to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions, and honestly, bring your popcorn. That's probably the matchup of the weekend. Now, I know there are basically other good matchups which have revenge matchups, like Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins going down to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. You also have the Browns taking on the Texans, which is round 2, and also Deshaun Watson's former team facing Deshaun Watson, even though Deshaun Watson isn't playing. And then you have Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys taking on the Packers, which was Mike McCarthy's former team. But this is probably the most anticipated matchup ever. Like the Lions who are finally getting to host a playoff game at Ford Field, is taking on their former franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And it's going to be a barn burner. My thing is for the Rams, they have to jump out to an early lead, and they now have no excuses. They got to play their starters. And they're looking as fairly healthy as they have been in quite some time this season. Yes, they do. They still have a few questionables in terms of Tyler Higbee and whatnot. But honestly, it's going to be a fun game. Looking at the injury report, Jordan Fuller's questionable. That's a big one right there. Tyler Higbee's also questionable. Kevin Dotson, the guard for Rams, he's questionable. Joe Notaboom, the offensive tackle, is also questionable. Troy Reader, linebacker, is also questionable. And then Sam Laporta has an outside chance of playing. Like I said, he's been the phenomenal rookie tight end from Tight End University, aka Iowa. But he got hurt in Week 18, which, look, I don't understand the practice of it, but again, there was no way the Cowboys were going to lose to Washington. But I digress. And that's Sam Laporta is kind of the only big-time loss for the Lions, as the other notables in terms of the injury report are James Mitchell, Jerry Jacobs, and Khalif Raymond. So for the Rams, I really think that they have to get out to an early lead, and they have to basically strike while the iron's hot. If they don't, then honestly, they're going to get swept out of the first round, and we don't want that. I definitely think that the Rams are going to win this one. I really am confident, because the Rams are playing so great. I want to say they won like 6 out of their last 7. And again, albeit ever since they lost to the Packers, they've won 7 of their last 8. And that only loss was to the Baltimore Ravens on the road in overtime after they had a special teams blunder and they gave up a 52-yard punt return touchdown. Regardless, it was 76-yard punt return touchdown. But regardless, that was at Lamar Jackson at one of his bests, especially when they had to face Odell Beckham Jr., their former wide receiver, who was part of that Super Bowl championship team. But for the Rams, this is big time right here, and all eyes are going to be on this matchup. I would not be surprised if this broke any records of wildcard games. But for the Rams, look, I really think the Rams have a legit shot. They didn't win in Week 18 for nothing, especially with Carson Wentz as their starter. They came to play, they came to ball out, and they have come to win, and the Rams are officially here. The fact that no one gave the Rams a shot to make the playoffs is still rather impressive, and they proved everybody wrong. As the Rams, remember, the Rams finished 6th in the NFC, and they were 3-6 at one point, and everything was looking all doom and gloom for the Rams. But then they wound up almost running the table following that loss to the Packers, and albeit some of their wins were one-score wins, and that includes 8-point wins, because that technically is one score, even though I kind of disagree, but I digress. The Rams have really grown so much, and it just goes to show that when healthy, the Rams can still be a threat. And I'm glad that they have their starting quarterback, and they're not trotting out a former quarterback retread. And I'm glad they have their receivers healthy, and I'm glad they have the running back in Kyren Williams, and they have their wide receiver 2 in Puka Nacua, and it's not just going to be Cooper Kupp. And also, Demarcus Robinson has been added into the fold as well, which is good, because the Rams need all sorts of variety in terms of their offense. They can't just go Stafford to Kupp. It's just not going to work. So I really am excited for this matchup, and my only fear for the Rams is the kicking game. If the Rams can get over that hump, they'll be fine. And I don't know who's going to be kicking, whether it's Brett Maher or Lucas Haversick, or whatever kicker they decide to bring on. But for me, I think the Rams have this in the bag. I think the Rams win. I really think that this is going to be a big win. As much as I want to see Detroit have some success, as much as I want to see Jared Goff lead the Lions to their first playoff victory since God knows when, as much as I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, as much as I like the great job that Dan Campbell has done, even though I think the Lions got robbed in that game against the Cowboys, well, the Rams are here, and they have the playoff experience for the most part. And the only one that I think has true playoff experience is Jared Goff. He probably has the most playoff experience of all of the Lions on the team. So I got the Rams winning. Let's go 31-24. Yes, it will require the Rams to actually make a field goal. Yes, that's going to be the biggest hump that the Rams are going to have to get over. But I'm confident in the Rams. I really think that the Rams are definitely have the offensive weapons. The Lions' defense has been bleh as of late. Even against the Vikings, they gave up 20 points. So, in all honesty, I really think that the Rams can show up and show out in Detroit. Because as long as Aaron Donald is healthy, and as long as the rookies like Kobe Turner, Kobe Durant, and if Jordan Fuller plays, it's an even bigger plus to the Rams defense. But as long as the Rams defense is not letting up big play after big play, I think they've got this for the most part, because I really think that the defense really has to step up. Like, the defense is my biggest question mark for the Rams, because the Rams defense is so young, minus Jordan Fuller and Aaron Donald. But for me, with players like Kobe Durant and Jordan Fuller, if he's healthy, John Johnson III, Quentin Lake, Russ Yeast, Troy Reader, if he's healthy, Aaron Donald, like I mentioned, and Kobe Turner. They have two Kobe's. Yeah, they have two Kobe's, Kobe Turner and Kobe Durant. So I was kind of right. So as long as that defense is able to basically answer the bell for the Rams and get to Stafford and pressure him a lot, I think the Rams have a fair shot. Now, I don't expect a whole lot from the Rams this postseason. I can maybe see them as a dark horse, but they still have to beat the Cowboys if they get out of the first round. And the only way they avoid playing the Niners is if the Packers win, and even if that happens and the Packers play the Niners, the Rams will still be on the road. The only best case scenario round 2 matchup or divisional round matchup that they could possibly get is against the Bucs. But other than that, every other matchup against them is so not ideal. The Eagles matchup, even though they're struggling, they got the better of the Rams, but they're struggling as of late. The Niners, with their starters, they proved to be a major matchup nightmare for the Rams. And the Cowboys, as I've been saying, they are a major matchup nightmare. So if there's an opponent that I would really want to see the Rams face in the divisional round, if they could get out of round 1 or the wildcard round, I would definitely pick the Bucs. But the Bucs would have to play near perfect football, and the Eagles would have to play bad. And also, we would need the Packers to basically shut down the Cowboys, in typical Green Bay Packers fashion. But for me, all that matters is Sunday, and the Rams really need to get the job done. All right, but that's that for the Rams portion. In the chat room, Jen B said, have a great show. Larry B said, T-Rod. And we also have Ralph Khalees saying, tuning into the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Sorry for being late. It's no worries, Ralph. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to everyone else that tunes in the live chat room. All right, so that's that for the NFL. Jumping over to NCAA men's basketball. Okay, we have problems here. And it's not just from the West Coast Conference. Well, for starters, I would like to congratulate Pepperdine for beating Pacific last night, 93-78, even though that's not really a big win. I mean, isn't Pacific just as bad as Pepperdine? Yes, they are. They're worse. But, oh my goodness. UCLA and USC, they have more problems than a trigonometry book. So, on Wednesday, USC lost to Washington State 72-64. Now, at first I thought that was a bad loss, but Washington State actually has improved, which it's not bad. But what's worse is that Washington State beat USC for the first time at Galen Center in 9 years. 9 years. Is this a joke? USC, I thought you were supposed to be pretty good at Galen Center, but it looks like you're pretty much stinky cheese. But this is, but you want to know what's even worse for USC? They lost Isaiah Collier, their top prospect from the class of 2023, for 4 to 6 weeks. So, unfortunately for them, Isaiah Collier got hurt, and now I am extremely sad face, and oh my god. It just keeps... when it rains, it pours for the for the USC Trojans, and it's a hand injury, as he sustained that injury on Wednesday against Washington State. So, God, that's just terrible, dude. It's like USC just can't catch a break. I'm starting to get the feeling that Long Beach State broke Washington State. And that's no disrespect to Long Beach State, but it's the truth. Long Beach State, I think, broke USC ever since they won that game. So now USC is in a world full of muck, and I don't even know if they can even make the tournament at this point. So USC, last week, I do give them a lot of credit. They beat Cal, and they also beat Stanford. Now, the Stanford win was pretty good, especially since Stanford just upset number 4 Arizona. But the loss against Washington State kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And what was close at halftime turned out to being a belly flop the rest of the way. Now USC hits the road to the Rocky Mountains to take on Colorado. And that's going to be an even tougher matchup because USC has struggled with Colorado for the most part. And Colorado is pretty darn good, as Colorado, even though they're 2-3, they're still 11-5. The team that has been really impressive in the Pac-12 is Oregon. Yeah, go figure. So USC is going to have to really play their hearts out, and they actually have to play smart, especially since Colorado is one of the tougher places to win at. Now we got to jump on over to UCLA, and oh my God, you think that USC has a lot of problems? UCLA, this is ridiculous. So I know Utah is vastly improved, but there is no excuse for this loss. UCLA last night lost 90-44. 90-44. You mean to tell me you put up 44 points against Utah? I get it. On the road. I get it. Utah was 11-4 going into that game. What I don't get is the lack of sheer effort that UCLA had in this game. It's ridiculous. You got doubled up by a Utah team that is straight up, I wouldn't say mid, but a Utah team that was 2-2 going into this game in conference play. But a 46-point loss, that's actually their second largest defeat in program history. I hope you're happy, UCLA, because now Mick Cronin has some questions to answer, and now I'm starting to wonder if everyone of the UCLA Bruins is tuning out. Because they started the conference play 1-0, and ever since that win over Oregon State, which is tied for dead last in the conference with UCLA, UCLA has lost 4 straight. And this loss is probably the coup de grace. And it gets even worse. They lost to Cal last Saturday at Pauley Pavilion. Do you know how bad you have to be in order to let Cal be a legit team? It's ridiculous, dude. Absolutely sad right there. I don't get how UCLA is able to sleep like this. And the worst part is that they had no player off the bench score double digits. They only had 6 points from their bench. It was the one that basically led the way was Sebastian Mack, who had 20 points, and then Adam Bonia had 14 points, and then Dylan Andrews had 10 points. Those were their top scorers. I get it. Cal also only had 6 points off the bench, but at least they were efficient. They shot 40% from downtown, while UCLA shot a stinking 20% from downtown. Only 20%. They only made 2 threes all night. And the worst part is UCLA had a higher field goal percentage than Cal. Is this a joke, UCLA? Because I ain't laughing. Oh, God, help me. UCLA is 6-10 right now. 6-10. I knew UCLA wasn't going to be as good as last year, but this is sad. And UCLA better do something, and Mick Cronin better do something, or he might be out of a job. And keep in mind, this is the same Mick Cronin that took UCLA to the Final Four a couple seasons ago, and that basically got bounced by Gonzaga last year. So, you got to figure something out, Mick, because I like you. I definitely think you are the one to be leading UCLA. But if you're going to have that team tune you out, and you're going to have that effort right there, you might as well just say, I'm done. You might as well just turn in your clipboard to the athletic director, to Martin Jamond, and basically say, hey, I'm done. I'm done. The players don't like me. I'm going to find a new job.
The same could be said for Andy Enfield. Without Isaiah Collier, with a great draft class a great class of 2023, and other good starters that returned from last year, USC should be better than 8-8. But instead, they're in probably a very bad situation, especially with Isaiah Collier being out for 4 to 6 weeks. And to circle back to the Rams, Ralph Klee said, "What are your thoughts on Puka Nacua winning Offensive Rookie of the Year?" Well, for starters, I definitely think he has a great possibility. He was also named Offensive Rookie of the Month, as well as Kobe Turner, as I definitely think he has a legit possibility. I think he's got a really good chance at winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. If he does, then awesome, but if not, then so be it. This dude basically balled out, and he broke the record for receiving yards. At the same time, C.J. Stroud of the Texans broke the passing yards record, surpassing, I think it was Andrew Luck. But either way, C.J. Stroud didn't even play a full season, so it's going to be such a tough decision on who's going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And if it does happen to be C.J. Stroud, then so be it. More fuel for the fire for Puka Nacua. But if I had to guess, based on how quarterback is one of the more valuable positions, I think it might go to C.J. Stroud. Because remember, Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson were in that same situation back in their rookie seasons, and Justin Herbert wound up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. But all in all it was Kobe Turner that won the Offensive Rookie or Defensive Rookie of the Month. Yeah, both Rams players, Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner, won Rookie of the Month in the NFC. So, the Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Month entirely. So, man, the Rams' future is looking brighter than ever. Take note, Chargers. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Like, if Puka doesn't win, then so be it. Just give him more fuel for the fire and have him ball out when it truly matters. So we'll see what happens with those two, but I won't hold my breath on it. All right, but that's that for that question from Ralph. Thank you for asking that, Ralph. And as for the other conferences, UC San Diego managed to take down Long Beach State in La Jolla, 88-74. I want to say it's the first win for UC San Diego. So I wouldn't say it's a bad loss for Long Beach State, but it's not the greatest thing for them. As currently leading the conference is UC Irvine, which beat Hawaii 60-50 last night. UC San Diego surprisingly is 4-0. So even though UCSD, even though they're not eligible for the NCAA tournament or the Big West tournament, I think it's going to be pretty fun if you ask me. I think they are definitely going to make it tough on their opposition, and I'm interested to see what they can do. CSUN unfortunately did suffer their first loss of the season as they lost to Davis 95-75. So me saying that CSUN is the best college men's basketball team in Los Angeles might be a little false, but it's all good. Things happen for a reason. San Diego State is back to being ranked, as they are now ranked 19th in the nation, as they took down San Jose State on Tuesday 81-78, and on Saturday they took down UNLV 72-61. If I forgot to mention this, San Diego State took down Fresno State in dominating fashion, 74-47. So this weekend, San Diego State plays New Mexico, as it's going to be a really good matchup. Both of these teams have only combined 5 losses, and they have 27 combined wins, which I think is pretty nice. New Mexico is definitely a team that flies under the radar. It only gets tougher from here on out for San Diego State, because after that Saturday game against New Mexico, Wednesday they are back home against Nevada, and Nevada's only lost 1 game, which that's scary if you ask me. And Nevada is still a perfect 2-0 in conference, but so is San Diego State. Can't believe Utah State is also perfect in conference. That's nuts. And then next Saturday, San Diego State plays at Boise State, which just beat Colorado State. And Boise State is also undefeated in conference play. So this weekend and next week is going to really test San Diego State. And I'm excited for what the Aztecs can do. Obviously, they had that great run in the NCAA national in the national championship, or up to the national championship, where unfortunately UConn got the better of them. But I will say, San Diego State is looking really, really good as of this point, and I think it's fun. They're starting to become fun. There was some uncertainty because they lost some guys to graduation and to the NBA draft, but now they're starting to look like the team that made it all the way to the national championship last year. All right, but that's that for NCAA men's basketball. Jumping over to NCAA women's basketball. All right. The opposite is actually said for USC and UCLA, and thank goodness they are doing so much better than their male counterparts, because I can't deal with them anymore. I cannot deal with USC and UCLA men's basketball anymore. They suck. They're terrible. The women's teams, on the other hand, they are absolutely nice. They're really good, as USC and UCLA managed to beat the Oregon schools. So last Sunday and Friday, last Friday, USC handed Oregon State their first loss of the season, 56-54. They actually shot a team low, or an all-time team low, of 32.4%. If that's their all-time low, I'd like to see their all-time high. But as always, Juju Watkins, a.k.a. Miss Hollywood, she had 28 points. She had half of USC's points. If that just doesn't go to show how valuable she is for this team, I don't know what does. But USC was able to rally back to take down Oregon State, which I think was great. And they also followed that up with a nice win over Oregon. Now, Oregon is not the team that they were back when they had Sabrina Ionescu, if that's how it's pronounced. But USC beating Oregon is pretty solid, if you ask me. I mean, yeah, Oregon is nowhere near the team that they were a few years ago, but I think USC is starting to get back on track. But now they know that non-conference schedule that they played outside of like Ohio State and Penn State, it does not help them. It's such a paper soft schedule in the non-conference slate outside of Ohio State and Penn State. Now they have entered the heart of their schedule, and now they have a big-time matchup this Sunday as they host UCLA, which is perfect segue to recap UCLA's games. So on Friday, last Friday, UCLA trounced Oregon 75-49, and then UCLA beat Oregon State 65-54. And like I said, UCLA and USC face one another this Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. 4 p.m. Central Time is my time. And then UCLA and USC both play Colorado and Utah on the road next week. And what I want to know is, why is USC and UCLA not nationally televised? Like, this is ridiculous. Stop scheduling this game or any big game like this on the freaking Pac-12 network. Not everybody has the gosh dang Pac-12 network. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, ESPN. Thank you for not televising this game. Not freaking A. But I am so excited for UCLA-USC Round 2, and hopefully it's as good as the first matchup. I mean, USC is kind of long overdue for a win over the Lady Bruins, but honestly, they're going to have other players step up, because in the first meeting between USC and UCLA, Juju Watkins had 27 points and she had 11 boards, but there was also another player that stepped up as well, as Mackenzie Forbes had 23 points. If she and maybe other players can get Juju Watkins some help, they could definitely be a scary team, not just for UCLA, but for anybody within the conference and in the NCAA tournament. So USC really needs to cross their T's and dot their I's against UCLA, because some of those players that have experienced the hurt and the pain of losing to UCLA, they want to win. They want to basically bring glory to USC. And like I said last year, when USC wound up losing in the first round, and they wound up losing in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament, They got to basically, this is where all their practice, all their weightlifting, all their everything has come down to not only this season, but it's come down to basically facing UCLA. They want to never experience the pain that they felt last year again. They want to basically put all of the off-season training, all of the practices, all of the double days, etc., that they have to fruition against a quality and legit team such as the number 2 UCLA Lady Bruins. And at the same time, UCLA needs to prove that they are the true big sister when it comes to facing USC. Even though USC has drastically improved and they have probably the potential freshman of the year in Juju Watkins, UCLA has a lot of good legit players, and they don't really focus on one player. They focus on a lot of good players. As Lauren Betts is leading the way for UCLA with 16 points per game. She's only a sophomore, mind you. And then London Jones, another sophomore, she has 13.6 per game. And then the third leading scorer, Charisma Osborne, she is third in scoring with a little over 13 points per game. And then Kiki Rice, another sophomore, she's averaging a little over 13 points per game. And then this girl, Gabriela Jaquez. In case you're wondering who that is actually the younger sister of Jaime Jaquez, the former UCLA Bruin and current Miami Heat player. But Gabriela Jaquez is averaging a little over 11 points per game. So UCLA's future looks so bright. Everyone's probably thinking, well, UCLA must have a lot of senior leadership on this team. That's actually not true. They have a bunch of sophomores who are stepping up, and they probably are back from last year's team. And then Angela Dugalich, she's averaging a little under 10 points per game. Gotta watch for her as well. So there's not one player on this team that does not pose a threat. And Lauren Betts, we talk about her leading the team in points per game. She leads the team in rebounds per game with 9. So USC is going to have their work cut out for them, but if they beat UCLA, then that is a huge feather in their cap, and it just proves that USC is legit. The schedule does not get any easier. It's not just going to be UCLA that they're facing. They also have to face Utah and Colorado, as I mentioned previously. Colorado's number 5 in the nation. Utah's number 19 in the nation. They actually had such a strong start to the season until they kind of fell down a slippery slope. And then after next week, they've got the Washington schools at home, which both are kind of legit as well. I don't think there is not one team in the Pac-12 that is not legit. The only teams that I don't think are legit are Arizona State, which, again, they had a lot of problems with last year. Not a lot of problems with last year, but I don't remember if that was the team that they lost to. It might have been Arizona or Arizona State, but regardless, USC can't underestimate anybody. And Oregon has seen better days as they're second to last. Well, they're tied for last. And Washington State, even though they're 0-3, I still think is still a quality opponent because they were 11-5 overall. So take away those 3 Pac-12 losses, they're 11-2 on the season. But I'm excited for UCLA USC. But we can't forget about all the other matchups that happened in SoCal or all the other college women's basketball teams, as California Baptist, or CBU, pulled off an amazing win over Tarleton yesterday as they took down Tarleton on the Tarleton State 89-59. So with the win, that actually is... Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Tarleton is not one of the undefeated teams that remains. But CBU and Grand Canyon are both undefeated in WAC conference play, as CBU also crushed Seattle last Saturday, 94-79. This week, this weekend, CBU takes on Abilene Christian, which that is probably going to be a win, but they just can't underestimate them in any sort of way. Then CBU has Southern Utah next Saturday, so it kind of is a little bit of a light schedule until they face Stephen F. Austin, which would be on the 27th, which, that's going to be a fun little matchup right there. Stephen F. Austin did suffer their first loss of conference play What I'm looking at in terms of CBU is when are they going to be playing Stephen F. Austin in Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon matchup is going to be on the 17th, and then the Stephen F. Austin matchup is going to be on Thursday, the 29th of February. And one is going to be the GCU one is going to be on the road, and then the Stephen F. Austin one is going to be the Stephen F. Austin matchup is going to be on the road, and then the GCU matchup is going to be at home. So there's that right there. I don't even want to talk about the West Coast Conference. I'm sorry, but they're just not. It's just depressing. But on Wednesday, San Diego State fell to Wyoming 72-55. But on Sunday, San Diego State took down Fresno State 77-70, which is not bad. The unfortunate thing is that San Diego State is now 2-0. And one thing to know about Wyoming is that they're actually 4-0. I did not know this. They're 4-0? What the heck? But I guess that's a quality loss right there, even though you don't want to have quality losses because they also lost to Air Force, which is also 2-2 in conference play. So for San Diego State, they got to right the ship and make sure they don't suffer any more tough losses like that. Then we jump over to Big West Conference play. UC Irvine sadly suffered their first. No, they suffered. They lost 2 games this past week. They lost to Hawaii on yesterday at the Brent Event Center, and then last Saturday they lost a heartbreaker to UC Davis 60-57. So they unfortunately are no longer in first place in the Big West Conference. That honor actually belongs to Hawaii, which is 4-0, and they're 7-6 overall. Ew. But they're not even at full strength. That's what I've been hearing. Hawaii isn't at full strength, and they are still just kicking butt and taking names. Believe it or not, there's actually only 2 teams that have a 500 or better record in the Big West Conference in women's basketball, and that's UC Irvine, which is 9-6, and then UC Santa Barbara, which is 10-5, and they're 4-1 in conference play. That's going to be a fun little matchup when Hawaii takes on UC Santa Barbara. The Gauchos' only loss was to UC San Diego on the 4th of January. And Santa Barbara won't be facing Hawaii until the end of January when they take them on Thursday, the 25th. And then the two also play each other on February 17th, which should be a fun little matchup right there. So that's going to do it for the college women's basketball roundup as well as the college basketball roundup overall. We're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some NBA and some NHL. And then we got to give out some Dum Dum of the Week awards. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kieran Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From where we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, as one of the shows, Let's One About DMV Sports, will be going on later today at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. But without any further delay, let's get on back into that second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So now we got to go over to the tough subject to talk about, the NBA. But there was some good news that happened regarding the Lakers, as it's been tough sledding for them following the in-season tournament. But some good news happened for them. Well, let's start with the bad news. The bad news, last Friday they lost to the Grizzlies 127-113. Though they were better as... Well, the Grizzlies were so much better, despite what the record shows, as they had Ja Morant in the fold. But on Sunday, the Lakers were able to beat the Clippers 106-103, despite almost choking the game away. And then Tuesday, they managed to take down the Toronto Raptors 132-131. Contrary to popular belief, the Lakers did indeed actually have a lot of free throw attempts, but some of those free throw attempts were actually because the Raptors fouled consistently to send Anthony Davis to the free throw line. So it's either you complain about the officials or you just don't foul on a consistent basis to send the Lakers players to the free throw line. I don't want to hear it. And Anthony Davis alone had 14 free throw attempts. So if you're going to basically rip the officials, I'm looking at you, Darko Rahalkovic. You might want to actually not have your players foul on a consistent basis. But I digress. The Lakers unfortunately saw that 2-game win streak come to an end as they fell to the Phoenix Suns yesterday, 127-109. The loss was so bad, it's actually their first loss to the Suns this season. And the loss is also bad that it was actually Kevin Durant's first win over LeBron James since 2018. Yeah, it's been that long since KD found a way to beat LeBron James. But the fact that that loss was a thing, yeah. Anyway, so the Lakers are back in action on Saturday when they hit the road to Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Jazz. Then Monday, they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder at home on Martin Luther King Day. And then Wednesday, they play the Dallas Mavericks at the Crypto.com Arena on ABC. Woo! Nationally televised game. And then Friday, the Lakers host the Brooklyn Nets. I almost said the New Jersey Nets, but they have a 4-game homestand. Well, I guess if you 6-game homestand if you want to include the Lakers playing the Clippers at the Crypto.com Arena. But the home team is the Clippers that game, so you got to factor that in there. But the Lakers are a disappointing 19-20, which man, just when we thought the Lakers were actually getting better, they actually take a step backward. But we jump to the Clippers as, like I said, they fell to the Lakers this past Sunday, but they stomped on the Pelicans last Friday, 111-95, and then on Monday, the Clippers eclipsed the Suns, 138-111, and then on Wednesday, the Clippers took down the Toronto Raptors, 126-120. So outside of that blip to the Lakers, the Clippers are still playing some solid basketball. As tonight, the Clippers hit the road to the Bluff City Classic to take on Memphis. And then Sunday, the Clippers head to the Twin Cities to take on Minnesota. Tuesday, the Clippers welcome in the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, the Clippers head down to... The Clippers will host the Brooklyn Nets. And then the 23rd, the Clippers host the Lakers, which should be fun times. Surprisingly, the Clippers are 2-0 against the Lakers. But the Lakers were long overdue for wins over the Clippers. Man, if you're a Lakers fan and you have friends that are Clippers fans, you are definitely tearing your hair out. But at least you have the bragging rights over the Clippers, and at least the Clippers had fun. But speaking of the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard actually got a 3-year extension as he also, I want to say it was like $157 million or something like that, but the Clippers extended Kawhi Leonard, which is very, very nice, and it means that they're going to have him for quite a while, as Kawhi did not disappoint in the win over Toronto. He had 29 points, and I'm happy that Kawhi was able to basically he was basically able to earn his money. As I said, the boardman gets paid, and the boardman is also getting extended as well, as boardman is going to be... Boardman's going to be with the Clippers for quite a bit, and he's not going anywhere. So, unfortunately for everyone else, boardman is staying put with the Clip City. Not Chip City, though. But I'm happy for Kawhi Leonard and for the Clippers, as Kawhi Leonard as a Clipper, he's averaged a little over 25 points per game, 6.5 boards per game, a steal per game, and I think he shot 88% from the free throw line. So, and you got to remember the Clippers are moving to a new arena, which is good. Thankfully, as a Laker fan, he is not going to be... The Clippers are not going to be in the Crypto.com arena. But I digress. So I do want to confirm the deal that Kawhi Leonard the extension deal. So it does not show. I did still hear that it was a 3-year deal, and unfortunately, we're not finding a way to basically see his extension. But it is a 3-year deal, and it's big time for Kawhi, as he's going to be staying a Clipper. Unfortunately, he just did not have the best game against LeBron and the Lakers, but hey, it's all good. So we'll see what happens with the Clippers. Currently, the Clip City is number 4, which isn't bad. They're only 2 games back of Oklahoma City and Minnesota. That just goes to show how close they are to getting that number 1 spot. So, Lakers, you better take note, because you're currently in the play-in game. And it's funny because everyone and their moms, including myself, projected the Clippers to be last in the Western Conference, just because the Pacific Division was getting so much better, as you had the Suns, and then you had the Kings, and then the Warriors, who are out of the playoff equation entirely, were in that division. But the Clippers are basically running away, well, not running away from the division, but they're proving themselves that they are still in the division and then some. So that is that for the NBA portion of the show. Let's jump to some NHL, and oh man, the Kings, I feel that I should be concerned for the Kings. Yes, they are still 3rd in the Pacific Division, but it's looking like them winning the Pacific Division is getting doubtful by the day. They actually lost yesterday to the Florida Panthers in overtime, 3-2, and they also lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning in overtime on Tuesday, 3-2. Sunday they lost to the Washington Capitals, 4-3, and then, I don't know if I mentioned this last Thursday, they lost to the Detroit Red Wings in a shootout, 4-3. So they have yet to win in 2024, which is very concerning. They've actually lost 7 in a row. It's a miracle that they're still in 3rd place in the Pacific Division. But the Kings are back in action tomorrow when they hit the road to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Red Wings. Then Monday, the Kings play the Carolina Hurricanes at Carolina. Then Tuesday, the Kings head down to Dallas-Fort Worth to take on the Dallas Stars. Thursday, the Kings host the Nashville Predators, and then Saturday the Kings will host the New York Rangers. Like I said, they're currently in 3rd place in the Pacific Division, so if the playoffs start today, they would be taking on the reigning champion Vegas Golden Knights, which would not be ideal. As for the Ducks, it's the same is still happening with the Ducks. They are still sucking. As they too have, they've won one time in 2024, but yesterday they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes by a field goal score of 6-3, and then Tuesday the Ducks beat the Nashville Predators 5-3, which I don't know how that happened, but the Ducks were able to take down the Predators. Good for them. And then Sunday the Ducks lost to the Detroit Red Wings 3-2. Then last Friday the Ducks lost to the Winnipeg Jets 3-1. So it has been rough sailing for the Ducks, which has been extremely disappointing, to say the least, as the Ducks head down to Tampa Bay to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning Monday, they'll stay in Florida to take on the Panthers. Tuesday, they head to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Capitals. And then next Saturday might be their best chance at winning a game. The Ducks head to San Jose to take on the Sharks, which still is a part of their little road trip. They had a 6-game road trip, so oof. They need to get back to Honda Center ASAP, or as I call it, the Pond. I will still refer to Honda Center as the Arrowhead Pond. It will forever be the Pond. No questions asked. I don't care what anyone says. Honda Center is forever the Pond. Just like Staples Center is forever, or just like Staples Center is forever Staples Center, even though it's now called the Crypto.com Arena. But I digress. As the Ducks, this season just could not get any slower for Ducks fans. It's just getting worse and worse, and just worse and worse, and more tiring by the day. It's almost as bad as West Coast Conference men's and women's basketball, but that's a little entertaining. But that is going to do it for the NHL portion of the show. It looks like I've basically checked off everything. As before we get on into Dum Dum of the Week, the Dodgers actually signed someone big time right here, as they signed they signed someone big, and don't worry, it's not a pitcher. And the Dodgers, to me, they are continuing. They signed someone by the name of Hader, which okay, the Dodgers signed him, but it was a big time. It was a big time signing, which they signed Teoscar Hernandez from the Seattle Mariners. So sorry about that, but the Dodgers signed Teoscar Hernandez from the Seattle Mariners, which is now a bat. It's no longer a pitcher. They're still pretty weak in the 8 and 9 position, but the Dodgers lineup, if they can stay healthy on a seasonal basis, is starting to look promising. It just goes to show that if the Dodgers find some way to lose in the divisional round, there is no coming back from that. There is no coming back from that. And I would be very disappointed if the Dodgers just straight up and courtesy of Ralph Cleese, they also signed Eliezer Hernandez to a minor league deal. So there's that right there. And Teoscar Hernandez was the big one because it gives them more depth in terms of their bats. They've been focusing a lot on pitching. That they actually need to focus on the bats and whatnot. So we'll see what happens with the Dodgers going forward. But for right now, this is a step in the correct direction. All right, but that is that for the Dodgers. That little bit of news. Now we can get on into Dum Dum of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out to when it comes to someone that does something dumb. And no one is safe from this award. Anybody can get this Dum Dum of the Week award. So there are actually two Dum Dums of the Week awards that I basically have to give out. So remember how I was talking. So the first one goes out to someone that posted on social media. So remember how I was talking about the NFL and how the playoff races were happening? Well, I will just say one team was already making preparations for the wild card round. And they said tickets are on sale. They actually posted a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying, wild card tickets are on sale. Get them while you can. But they didn't even clinch a spot in the playoffs. And unfortunately, in Week 18, they wound up losing, and that was pretty much that for their playoff hopes. It wasn't the Indianapolis Colts. It wasn't the Seattle Seahawks. It was actually a team that was projected to win the AFC South, but unfortunately kind of fumbled the bag. Fumbled it harder than the Philadelphia Eagles did against the New York Giants. The Eagles entirely with the NFC East entirely. So, but the team I'm talking about is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I gotta give them a big old smile because that's just straight up sad right there. They posted a tweet saying, wild card tickets are on sale, and they didn't even clinch a spot in the playoffs. And then in Week 18, they lost to the Tennessee Titans, and as a Chargers fan, I can't help but laugh at the Jaguars for what happened, but I'm going to do it right now. You posted a link to get wildcard tickets, and you didn't even clinch, and now they're out. So anyone who bought wildcard tickets for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you need a full-on refund and then some. Excuse me. What? Oh, Jacksonville. Haven't you been taught to think before you post? You have to actually make the postseason to have tickets on sale. But the fact that you all decided to have plans for the playoffs before you actually clinch a spot is pretty funny. So, excuse me, I've got the hiccups now, but Jacksonville Jaguars, and don't think I forgot about last year. Yes, you managed to come back from the 27-0 deficit, but you didn't make the playoffs this year. At least the Chargers have an excuse with not having a bunch of their stars. I gotta get these hiccups squared away, but unfortunately for you, Jacksonville Jaguars, you are the first dum-dum of the week. Not the first dum-dum of the week of this year, but you're the dum-dum of the week because you posted before you actually clinched a playoff spot. Oh, you also lost to the Titans, which were nowhere near playoff contention. And with the Titans losing, they actually made their draft pick a whole lot worse. But for you, Jacksonville Jaguars, you are dum-dum of the week because you didn't think before posting. So, too bad.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
If you don't make the playoffs, you shouldn't be selling tickets. If you haven't confirmed that you have made the playoffs, you shouldn't be posting that you are selling tickets. Good grief. All right, but that is only part one of the dum-dum of the week. So part two, or the second dum-dum of the week, oh my goodness. So let's just say that this guy, look, I love this guy to death. I really liked what this man did for USC. I really approved of what he did, but let's just say that him trying to get his own way was pretty funny. So this news actually just broke today, and Caleb Williams, who is bound for the NFL draft, oh man, he's a great player. Let's get that out of the way. I love Caleb Williams. I am happy he got the Heisman. I only wish his last year with USC was a little bit better. But, oh man, this news broke earlier today. So this was courtesy of several different reporters, but Caleb Williams said he wants assurance that the Bears will be trading the first overall pick before declaring for the NFL draft. And he says that he and his camp have no interest in playing Chicago. Yeah, let me say that again. Caleb Williams wants to have confirmation and assurance that the Bears will be trading the first overall pick before declaring for the draft. What this man is telling us is he does not want to play for the Bears. Well, let me tell you something, Caleb. You didn't want to play for Oklahoma, and you got to play for USC. Why do you need confirmation and assurance that the Bears are trading the first overall pick? The NFL draft isn't you get to choose wherever you go. You get drafted to said team, and you must deal with it. And what if the Bears don't draft you? They could draft Marvin Harrison Jr. The fact that Caleb Williams is being a diva and he's making a huge deal of who drafts him is absolutely ridiculous. You can't just say, oh, I want the Bears to trade away the draft pick, otherwise I'm staying at USC. No. That's ridiculous. You are an NFL quarterback. You are ready. You can't stay 1,000 more years at USC. It doesn't work like that. You are ready for the NFL quarterback, or for the NFL. You are an NFL caliber quarterback, and the fact that you are being a complete diva is ridiculous. This is almost more ridiculous than when Eli Manning demanded a trade from the Chargers. Thanks, Dean Spanos. But this is just stupid, dude. This man is a freaking... He's spoiled, if you ask me. And honestly, I would not blame anybody if Caleb Williams fell to the second round. Again, I love Caleb Williams. He's a talent, but he just sounds so arrogant. I hope he doesn't go down the path of Josh Rosen, because if he does, then this dude is never going to be an NFL caliber quarterback, and he's going to be a complete bust. Keep in mind, he did win the Heisman, but this is just ridiculous. You can't just say and assure that someone, wants to trade away their pick, and you can't just say, I don't want this team to draft me. Deal with it. Help your team actually become a playoff caliber team. Help rebuild them into their glory days. Help the Chicago Bears or the New England Patriots or the Raiders or anybody get back to the playoffs and help them become a contender in a very stacked AFC or NFC. It's ridiculous, dude. So, Caleb Williams, I love you and all. You're a great NFL player or a football player entirely, but you're the dum-dum of the week because of this whole bologna sausage. You can get out of here. USC, I don't even think USC wants you back. It's Miller Moss time, baby. So take this dum-dum of the week and get your butt to the NFL draft.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Man, why does Caleb Williams have to make this the most complicated thing out there? Again, great football player, but his maturity is basically questioning everybody on if they should take him. And then I guess I should make note of these dum-dums of the week. So the Seattle Seahawks and I kind of understand the Tennessee Titans for firing Mike Vrabel. They wanted big-time production as the head coach from Mike Vrabel. And if you remember last year, the Tennessee Titans had a major collapse, kind of like the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it still doesn't make sense that they fired Mike Vrabel. Yes, the NFL is business, but it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Mike Vrabel is going to eventually find a NFL job in a heartbeat. And as for Pete Carroll getting fired, this one doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. This year, he had a Geno Smith quarterback, and he had Drew Lock when Geno Smith was hurt. And he almost guided the Seahawks to the playoffs. Again, they were a few losses short of making the postseason. You could thank the Rams for that, by the way. I could go as far as to say that the Rams broke the Seahawks, but that's for another day. But for the Seahawks firing Pete Carroll and just having him as an advisor, that's a slap to the face for all that he did. I mean, the Seahawks weren't even that bad. And yes, it's been a while since they've won a playoff game, where the last time they won it was Carson Wentz getting injured, and I don't even remember who the backup quarterback was for Philly that year. But honestly, unfortunately, the Seahawks decided to go down the dark route and fire Pete Carroll. If I'm Pete Carroll, I say take this advisor job and shove it. I'm going to leave and go become a quarterback or go and become a head coach elsewhere. And this is why I really want Pete Carroll at USC. I think he can change the trajectory of the Chargers organization and the culture. If he goes to the Chargers and he changes the culture and eventually gets them to the Super Bowl with Justin Herbert, and wins the Super Bowl, then Pete Carroll could go down as one of the best coaches to do it. Winning a national championship and winning a Super Bowl. Well, 2 Super Bowls for that now. But for the Seahawks and for the Titans, you firing your coaches, the Titans is a little understandable, but the Seahawks, you done messed up. So you could take this dum-dum of the week real quick, you two.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote.
You are so dumb.
Hey. Go back to your little corner. I said that's all she wrote, meaning no more dumb of the week. Gosh, guy. All right, but that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get on out of here because I got to get me some lunch. Yeah, dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout to the chat room, Ralph Calise, Jen B, and Larry B for popping in. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. Tuesday, as a reminder to those that listen to Set Point, I will be doing Set Point on Tuesday at noon Pacific time, which would be 2 p.m. Central time. And then also, next Friday, I won't be doing SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I'm going to be in Austin, so expect maybe a show on Thursday at like noon, if not maybe like a little later. But I think expect a show on Thursday at noon. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the SoCal sports action. I'll see you all on Tuesday for Set Point. Have a great weekend. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace. Let's go Rams. Whose house? Rams' house.